All right, everyone, it's week 4 RPM 10K challenge. How is it going? What are you learning about yourself? It's so exciting. We're like baby deer standing up for the first time doing all these double unders. One of the things that's probably popping up is that your calves have come on board, quads are adapting, but some of the weak feet, some of the foot starts to be a little bit ugly. So what I want to do in this piece is show you some strategies to hit some of the pieces that may be lacking and missing. The first thing is actually just taking care of your feet. And one of my favorite ways to do that is to just actually jump on a roller. If you want to hold on to something, that's great. But a little bit of a foot scrub, a couple minutes is all this takes. You can start from the heel, go all the way to the front edge. You can get on the inside and roll back and forth. I like to hold one side of the roller down and almost feel like I'm peeling off my foot on the other side. And just a little bit of input here can make you feel a lot better. Remember, if we're looking at your brain, your mouth, face takes up a huge portion of that brain. Your hand takes up a huge portion of that sensory motor cortex, but your feet actually almost take up as much space as your hands. So what we're trying to do is have that input come back into the system. And one of the ways we know we can sort of calm the system down and upregulate the whole foot system is just a little bit of input. So just grab your roller. You can do this while you're checking your email. Again, this wouldn't be part of my 10 minutes, but it'd be something like, oh, the roller's out. Maybe just touch these feet a little bit. Sometimes that doesn't occur to people. You can obviously do that on a ball, but very easy ways to make yourself feel better just for the couple minutes on a roller. Now check this out. Since I like to do a lot of mobilizing when I'm sitting on the ground, because at the end of the day, I want to show you one of my favorite mobilizations. A couple ways to do it, and it's to address the calf and the calf tissues a little bit differently. So instead of kind of coming in classically where we're laying and doing a little bit of mobilization this way, we're going to come in behind the shin sort of obliquely. So if I happen to have a kettlebell at home, cool. If I have a ball at home, cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start right at the base of the knee. So just coming in off the knee joint, the first place where I can get a kind of a handhold here. And you have to understand that you have a lot of musculature that crosses the knee here. You've got calf is coming, the gastroc, hamstrings coming down, gracilis, and then this big muscle called the sartorius is wrapping around. And so there's a really interesting interface of a lot of tissues. So what I can do is come in right behind the bone, load up, add a little bit of rotation, and then add a little bit of movement side to side. A lot of pain that people actually feel in their feet is that posterior tibialis, which runs behind the shin and gives the arch a lot of integrity and support. So what we're doing by working upstream here is we're actually trying to get into the feet. And what we can do is definitely hit this area up and just rolling back and forth. You'll start to catch the soleus and some of the other tissues here. And what you'll find is like, wow, I had no idea. Add a little bit of motion, desensitize, make sure you can breathe. You can even wind up the skin and kind of have a bite on it. But what you'll see is that it's easy to spend 3 to 5 minutes just right behind the shin here. And again, what we're addressing is the soft tissue system, and we're trying to ultimately upregulate how well I can keep that arch. Because as I'm landing and the feet are dropping in, we think always of the calf going, but there's a lot of motion of pronation that my body is using as a storage device for energy. All of that tissue system is kind of behind the shin here. So come on in, get a little bit of motion, a little bit of wiggle back and forth, easy way to make yourself feel better. The sneaky bit here is if you have a kettlebell, you can do the same thing we did with the quads. You can just use the handle of the kettlebell and then just relax here. You can sink in. You can modulate pressure by taking some of the weight off. If the kettlebell's too heavy, you can use a kind of the corner of it, or you can just roll across and even add a little bit of more additional weight. Just let the weight of that thing sink in. That kind of static pressure can make you feel a lot better. So a couple ideas. Feet, posterior tib. But an easy way to do this too is, since you're already on the ground, let's talk about toes for a second. So one of the things we're looking at is function of the foot, and I should be able to get these toes flexed, all 4 of them on the ground, all 5 of them on the ground, right? And what I'm trying to do here is see if can I get this foot straight, toes to 90 degrees, and then just sneak my knee forward a little bit. And sneaking the knee forward just increases the flexion demand of all the toes and all the contact. And then I just hang out here, and then imagine pushing my foot back a little bit. I don't have to push my foot back, but just loading those things up and just making sure that you're reminding your brain what that looks like at end range. So if we've got one for this toe flexion, we've also got one for plantar flexion. So what we're going to do here is just get into a classic hurdler. This is a wonderful way to load all the plantar fascia, kind of not the plantar fascia, but this sort of dorsum of the foot into plantar flexion. Grab the knee, pull up, and just hang out. And again, this is a great series to do in front of the TV because we can load that foot, load that shin, get a little bit of motion in those toes, and just hang out, take a breath here. I can drive my foot into the ground and get real fancy and contract, relax, or I can just hang out and just give my body some of that exposure. The idea here is ultimately in our practice, what we're trying to do of taking this jumping idea throughout the course of the month, whether you're doing the 10,000 double unders or you're just committing to jump roping every day for a month, is we're trying to understand how our bodies work and understand the efficiency and sort of the stiffness problems that are sort of normative to us. And what we really like to do carrying out of this is one, enhance our love of jump roping and our love of double unders, of course, but also getting in the habit of conjoining some of our soft tissue work with the work we've done during the day. So the chances are you're going to finish the 30th day and you're going to be like, I'm never doing a double under ever again, until 2 days later when you want to test them again and see how they feel. But ideally, during this challenge, it's easy for us to focus on hyper focus on a single area. Our feet, our calves, some of the jumping mechanisms that are getting stiff or overused during this time, we can do a little ministration, a little focus work. But ideally, we're going to take that same idea so that when we get out of this and are back in our normal training environments, we can ask ourselves, what is stiff, what is tired, what could use a little restoration so it's not so sore tomorrow, and then we begin to closely conjoin sort of our soft tissue practice, which we've been doing every day for 10 minutes in the evening, with the sort of the loads and needs of my body today. And that is ultimately our long-term goal, so that it's not just feet that we have to focus on, but it's glutes today and hamstrings and triceps, and rolling for 10 minutes in the evening isn't a big ask, and it's a lot of ways to make ourselves feel better. Because the goal here is to take these 10,000 jumps, these 30 days, and actually become better, more complete athletes.